An interracial couple in Russia. It's a good introduction. Giving your wife a sausage on the first date. That's So I'm Zimbabwean and she is Russian. What have you found difficult being together?
Maybe the fact that you
Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, Afro Lev, roaring truths to preserve your pretty voice. And today I have a very special guest, the most special guest in the world, my wife. Could you please introduce yourself to the people at home?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Christina and I'm from Russia, Moscow, and I met my husband when I worked in China as a teacher.
Yes, and I pursued her for a long amount of time, and she said yes after 6 months of ignoring my text messages.
Sorry.
But here we are today. For those of you that don't know who I am Joppy Andy McKelvey, the Afro Lev, and if you are new here, I will give a slight introduction about what I do. I basically post content about Russia, and I answer questions that people want to know about Russia. And I felt like talking about an interracial couple in Russia could be very fascinating. So sit back and we're going to be talking about our relationship, and perhaps this could give you some insight into whether you think this is a good move. Obviously it's a good move. Look how beautiful she is.
Thank you.
But sit back and we're going to get into it. So I'm Zimbabwean and she is Russian, and as she said, we met in China of all places. What did you do in China?
I worked as a teacher at this college, and yeah, it was a really nice experience for me because it was basically the first time I worked abroad, and secondly, it was the first time when I found myself in a place where nobody speaks English. And well, I can't say nobody, but most of people don't, or maybe they're shy too. And that was quite new to me. And yeah, on top of that, I don't speak Chinese. So it was quite of a challenge, but I love this country. And I loved my experience there. I loved my work, my colleagues, and most of all my students. And with some of my students, I'm still friends with. And of course, that's the place where I met my husband, in the canteen of my school.
In the canteen, yeah. And she was a vegan. And I was trying to get her a vegan meal. And they kept on giving her food with meat in it. I guess the running joke is that every time I'd come back, I'll tell her this is the most vegan meal.
No, vegetarian. So
most vegetarian meal. Yeah. And she would stick her finger in there and get a sausage out of there. So it's a good introduction. Giving your wife a sausage on the first date. That's a good introduction. Yeah. So a lot of people ask me about difficulties in an interracial relationship. And I think it's even more dramatic when you're married to a Russian woman, because I guess in today's climate, you get a lot of stereotypes and multiple other negative comments about it. But I wanted to talk about our experience. What have you found difficult being together?
Honestly, nothing. Maybe just the distance during COVID. That was the most challenging thing. Apart from that, nothing. I think it's a smooth ride. Yeah,
I'm a magnificent husband. So.
Most definitely.
So she doesn't have that much stress. But what about cultural differences? Like, did you find anything like slightly, I don't know, strange or uncomfortable?
Maybe the fact that you didn't turn off the light in the beginning.
I have a very good reason for not turning off the light. Because where I'm from, when we leave the house, we turn on all of the lights so that burglars know that they shouldn't rob the house, or they have this illusion that there are people that are still there. But then in the middle of Moscow, when you're on the 25th floor, I think that doesn't really help the case. If somebody really wanted to rob you, I don't think they would care if the lights are on or not, because it's 25 floors up in the sky. So yeah. But yeah, I would say that was one of the things. I still do it sometimes. I forget to turn the light off. but I'm learning because the light bill afterwards is very painful. And it kind of gets to me. You know, I look at the bill, I'm like, okay, I think this is a cultural difference that I can definitely bend the knee on. So, you know, any other things?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I mean, for me too, because I haven't really found something that I was like, this is terrible. And I think that's probably because we are very flexible people. I'm not the type of person that is going to say that my culture is a letter of the law. But also I feel like Russian people and Southern African people, I would say, I'm from Zimbabwe, actually get along pretty well because we share the same values, ideas, and mindsets. So there's nothing outrageous that we have encountered. But I'm sure maybe other couples have some horror stories. But for me, I have been living in paradise, my friend. I guess because my idea of what a good wife is somebody who is kind, somebody who is a good cook. She's an amazing cook.
Oh, thank you.
Somebody who's patient, a bit humorous, and also very traditional. And I feel like she is all those things times 10. Maybe not times 10, maybe times 100.
Times 10 in terms of humorous.
Your cooking is pretty amazing too. You're selling yourself short. But yeah, nothing so terrible in that sense, I would say. But a lot of people also ask me, because I was making this video before, we've tried to make this video at least 3 different times. And last time I forgot to connect the speakers. Sorry, the microphones. Yeah. So that was a disaster. But here we are. And one thing I wanted us to discuss, how did your parents feel about you getting married to an African man?
I mean, at first they were a little bit surprised. But I think they were more surprised at the fact that I was waiting for you for that long during COVID.
3 years.
Yeah, I was like, oh, so much patience. Yeah, but yeah, they loved you from the get-go, so they still do. So.
And why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But believe it or not, I was panicking because where I'm from, I don't know about you guys, but you have to ask the parents for permission. I don't know if people still do that, but we do. Where I'm from, we still do that. And when the parents don't agree, you are basically prone to failure. In my culture, they believe that if the parents don't agree, it means that your relationship is doomed. But of course, some people have succeeded, but I kind of had that at the back of my mind. So I remember preparing a terrible speech for my...
Terrible.
It was terrible. My Russian was... I mean, my Russian is a little bit better now, but I knew nothing about stresses. And keep in mind, the only words that I could say pretty clearly were "Привет" and "Как дела?" That was it. So I wrote this whole script to her mother, and her mother listened attentively because I was like, okay, I need to ask her if I can marry her daughter.
That is so romantic, so sweet.
Romantic, but embarrassing, because I'll tell you the rest of the story. I got the script ready, and I was there speaking Russian terribly, and she was like, okay, Andy, can I say something? I'm like, okay. She's like, look, you can speak English. I speak English. I'm like, oh, damn. The Russian was that bad, you know? But she's like, I thank you for actually trying to make an effort. And she just said one thing that I will never forget. So it's like I was waiting for her reply, and she said, "Are you sure?"
Yeah, it's so embarrassing, really.
Are you sure? Yeah, I was like, this is anticlimactic.
Yes, because... really embarrassing, but yeah, funny now.
It's funny now, I guess, because she was basically trying to make sure that I was serious. Because I guess, I mean, living in another country at the time, trying to find a chance to see my wife again, you have to be pretty serious because we didn't know when we would see each other again. We're kind of just hoping. And then I took the opportunity and rolled the dice and left my job behind.
Like a rock star slamming the door behind.
Like a rock star slamming the door behind me, yeah. Exactly. And it was a very stir of the moment. It could have gone absolutely terribly, but here we are. And we have been together for almost 6 years. So that is...
Since 2020?
Yeah. Wow. Time flies.
Yeah.
5. Time flies. But yes, here we are.
What about your parents' reaction? How did they react?
Okay, so my parents were kind of shocked at first because I talked about her a lot, almost all the time with my sister. And I guess my sister is a chatterbox. So she's like, oh, you know, he met this woman and, you know, she's Russian and yada, yada, yada. But my parents have always been very open-minded people. There's only one rule that my parents gave me, and they said, do not marry a woman from Botswana. That's it. And it's a joke. Of course, it's a joke because I feel like a lot of the local women have, you know, become more rock star-like and they love to party. So there's a general belief back home that you need to party until you can't party anymore and you are old and, you know, time is up. And my mom doesn't really like that idea. She wanted me to get married early and not waste time. So she was, yeah, really good. So she was overjoyed. At the same time, she wanted to make sure that I was sure as well. We have an age gap, of course.
Why, of course?
Well, because I always felt like women my age, I don't know. They just don't do it for me, man. I guess because I've been on my own since 17. I left home at 17 years old. So I have matured a lot more than my peers in the past few years. And people actually think I'm 35. Because they're like, oh, where are you now? I'm like, oh, yeah, well, with my wife. We have this apartment in Moscow and I'm married and, oh, I'm sorting out everything. And people my age are usually finding themselves. So it's a bit strange when I try to relate to people my age because they always tell me, why did you get married so young? You know? So yeah, I pretty much aged a lot faster than my peers, I would say. And yeah, so she was trying to make sure because people my age are, they're not the brightest, I would say. Far from the brightest. So she's like, this kid better not be stupid. He better be sure about what he's doing. And here we are. But I mean, at the end...
So your mom wasn't against?
My mom wasn't against it. I think she was just a bit skeptical at first because she was like, is he sure? He's pretty young. Because I was 23.
Yeah.
When I was like, okay, I want to get married. She's like, okay. I knew this would happen because she knows that I'm a pretty straightforward person and I don't beat around the bush. So I'm pretty sure she knew this would happen. I'm not somebody that is into finding myself, and I always told her that, I'm going to find one woman, we're going to get married. But I don't really think she thought it would transpire at 23 years old. So, yeah. But here we are. Okay, so let's also talk about society in Russia. How did they look at interracial marriages and dating?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say there is a big difference of how people actually think and what they can say in person and what people say on the internet. Mm-hmm. I would say you can bump into a lot of negativity on the internet. Not a lot, but these comments not unusual. So
in colder.
Yeah, so like inkwell and stuff, usually men offending women for dating or marrying black guys. Mm. But actually, if it's other way around, if a white guy or like a Russian guy marries an African woman, he is saluted and like, wow, you did a great job. Look at this gorgeous woman, and so on and so forth. I don't know why there is this hatred towards women dating black men. But this hate is only on the internet, because on the internet, anyone can say anything. So people are brave and stuff. They can say things they would never say in person. But I would say generally in person, no one actually cares. And I've never heard anything, like any negative comments in person. And all of my friends are really happy for us. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have also never experienced anything in person. I've never really seen anybody, well, coming up to us and shouting slurs or calling us the inkwell thing. It's never happened in person. But of course, on the internet, people can do whatever they want. They can be whoever they want. They can be James Bond. They can be anybody they want. So I'm not really concerned about the internet. But in person, I feel like it's pretty comfortable. I've never encountered anything strange.
True.
Moving on to kids.
Wait, what about back home?
Okay. Back home, it's interesting because interracial relationships are 50-50, I would say. Some people are so for the idea, like they will salute you and say the most ridiculous things like, you have a white woman, so you must be rich. Because people think it's impossible for you to have a white woman, you must be wealthy and it's associated with wealth. Or perhaps she's rich and she just took you in. For me, I feel like we connected on an emotional level. So I never felt the need to say things that other people say about their relationships, because a lot of people tell me, oh, they hop into interracial relationships because they're wealthy now and they can get whatever girl they want. She liked me. She loved me when I was broke. She took care of me when I had nothing. So for 2 years, when I was graduating, she basically took care of me. And now I'm taking care of her.
Yeah, that's so sweet.
And we're actually at a resort right now for her birthday. And I'm trying to help her to enjoy her birthday to the fullest. But yes, people think that you are somehow super rich if you date a white woman. And some people are just not for the idea. They say things like, oh my goodness, you're leaving the African women behind. And I'm like, I was not going to date every single African woman. I don't know what you mean, African women behind. But I guess people are sort of for the idea of staying with your race. I honestly couldn't care less what people think about that, because at the end of the day, when the camera's off, it's just you and I. Yeah. Do we connect? Are we in love? Are we comfortable with each other? And that's the main thing for me. So for the people that obviously are negative towards it, it doesn't really affect me, because at the end of the day, they're not the ones who bought the ring and put it on their finger. And my relationship is extremely amazing. People always complain about their marriages, like, oh my God, marriage is like this. I'm like, my marriage isn't like that. That's a you problem. So yeah, personally, I viewed stuff from that point of view. And I would say generally, in some places, people just look at it as normal, because in my country, there are many different people that come into the country. So yeah, it's a 50-50 thing. But about children, in Russia, how are mixed kids regarded?
Well, we have so many nationalities in Russia, so it's not like a huge thing having a mixed kid. I don't know how it is now, but when I was a school student, we had a mixed kid in our class. He was my classmate. And we actually didn't notice he was mixed. Oh. I mean, yeah, we treated him exactly the same. We saw his skin tone was slightly different, his hair was different, but we didn't even understand he was mixed. So there was not even an issue. There was no segregation whatsoever. And yeah, we treated him exactly the same, and that was really cool. I don't know about now, because now everyone has the internet, and people, I don't know, can find some negative stuff there and maybe bring it back to school and say some weird stuff to mixed kids. I don't know how it is now, but I guess we'll find out when we have a kid.
Yeah, we don't have kids yet. The near future, hopefully. And I think that's true. In terms of Russia, when it comes to being a multicultural country, multiracial country, I feel like it's not the scariest place in the world to have a mixed kid. I feel like you shouldn't be absolutely terrified of the idea of having mixed kids here, because there are many nations here. Of course, you also need to have an open mind, in the sense that when you look different, people will regard you as different. There is an ignorance that comes with looking different, even being different. For example, I speak very articulate English. Where I'm from, people call me white. Apparently, I'm white. I'm not black enough. What do you think? But just because my English is articulate, a lot of people think I'm trying to be white, but it's just my education. So anything that you do that people can't do or people don't have, or perhaps it is not the norm, will of course make people feel uncomfortable because people hate what they do not understand. So I feel like our kids will need to be brought up in a very tough way. Just in general, I need to raise kids with her that are tough-skinned. I do not want people to be affected by words. More of if your well-being is in trouble, like if you are in a precarious position, then it becomes an issue. I will need to get involved too, because I think I will be a very protective father. So I feel like our children might experience things that we don't even predict. You know, we can't predict the future, but I feel like in terms of violence or being put in a situation when they're, you know, forced into a corner, I doubt that will happen in Russia, but we can't look so forward into the future. So I would say that either way, our children need to be tough-skinned.
Yeah, for sure.
Like us, I'm a pretty tough-skinned person. Not a lot affects me. And I've lived in various countries, and I've always been different. So I feel like it should be an interesting pathway that we will be venturing on. And it'll be interesting to share with you guys when that eventually happens. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, not really.
Right, so this is the 4th time we're trying to do this video. And I hope this is the last time because I'm going to be editing it after this. But thank you so much for coming onto the channel. It's such a pleasure to have you on here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I've had 16 cafe interviews and I haven't had you one-on-one, and I feel so terrible about that. But guys, this is my wife. I'm so glad that you guys got a chance to meet her. And we will be creating more content, well, depending on if you found this useful and insightful. And as always, we are
roaring truth
to preserve your pretty voice. Ciao.
Ciao.